Welcome to this deep dive. We usually expect ancient instruction manuals about animal sacrifice to be purely procedural.
Yeah, just like blood, dirt, and procedure.
Right. But today we are looking at a 1972 Chassidic discourse on the book of Leviticus, or Vayikra, that actually opens this butchery manual with a profound love letter from God.
It's quite a tonal shift, really.
It is. And our mission today is to decode how this seemingly archaic physical blueprint actually holds the ultimate guide for human purpose, mindfulness, and, well, humility. So, okay, let's unpack this because the very first word of this manual, Vayikra, translates to a calling of deep endearment.
Which is, pretty surprising for a text like this.
Exactly. I mean, why start a text about slaughtering livestock with the term of deep affection?
Well, that contradiction essentially sets up the central tension of the entire text. It's all about the collision of this transcendent, ethereal reality with the base, everyday physical world.
Okay, so to understand that endearment, we really have to look at who is being called into this earthly reality. The text focuses on the phrase Adam ki yakriv.
Meaning a person when he brings a sacrifice.
Right, but here's what really stands out to me. Why use the word Adam? In this tradition, Adam is like the absolute most spiritually elevated term for a human being.
That's a very lofty word.
So why use that lofty word when talking about, wrestling with physical livestock?
What's fascinating here is that the text is establishing humans as a literal bridge. The discourse outlines that we possess both a transcendent side, what the text calls lights, representing things like deep intellectual or spiritual study, and an action-oriented side.
The vessels.
Exactly, the vessels.
Wait, let's break that down for a second. How exactly do lights and vessels actually work together?
Think of it like electricity and a light bulb. The electrical current, the light is incredibly powerful, but it's abstract and uncontainable on its own.
You can't just hold raw electricity.
No, definitely not. It needs a physical apparatus, like the vessel or the bulb, to actually illuminate a room. The physical action is what grounds the spiritual concept.
Okay, so the act of the sacrifice wasn't just, ancient agriculture.
Not at all. It was really about subduing the animal within ourselves. When a person sacrificed an animal, the mechanism was psychological. They were actively taking their own animalistic drives, ego, physical appetites, selfishness, and channeling that raw energy toward a higher divine purpose.
Wow, so you need the highest spiritual capacity, the atom, to reach down and elevate that mundane matter.
Precisely. You need the high to elevate the low.
But see, if our goal is to bring that lofty atom energy down into the physical world, we kind of run into a physics problem.
How so?
Like, how does abstract wisdom actually travel down into the mundane world? The text explains this by comparing divine wisdom to water. But I actually have to push back on this a bit.
Okay, lay it on me.
Water flows down simply because of physical gravity.
Yeah.
What is the spiritual gravity pulling this ethereal wisdom down into our everyday lives? Why wouldn't it just, stay up in the clouds where it belongs?
That is a great pushback. Water seeks the lowest point because of physical gravity, but the text argues that divine wisdom has its own kind of gravity.
Like a spiritual pull.
Yeah, it's a divine desire to exist not in the heavens, but down in the gritty reality of the lower worlds. The inherent nature of water seeking the lowest point isn't a flaw, it's its defining feature.
Oh, interesting.
Similarly, the ultimate destination of this wisdom isn't up in the abstract. It's true, intended purpose is only realized in physical, everyday actions to fulfill the desire for a dwelling place in the lower worlds. The wisdom is literally incomplete until it gets its hands dirty.
So if this wisdom, like water, is constantly seeking the lowest place, how do we as humans actually catch it? Because human instinct is usually to build ourselves up into a mountain, not carve ourselves out into a valley.
Right, everyone wants to be at the peak.
Yeah, exactly. But there is a microscopic detail in the original scroll that anchors this whole idea. The very first word, Vayikra, is traditionally written with a physically shrunken tiny letter, Aleph. And this tiny letter represents the extreme humility of Moses.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this brings us to the concept of bittul, or self-nullification. Think back to that water analogy. Water doesn't pool on the peak of a mountain.
No, it rushes right off.
Right, it rushes off the peak and pools in the lowest valleys. Divine wisdom works the exact same way. It only rests in a mind that actually makes room for it. Moses wasn't great because he stood on the highest peak. His greatness came from his profound humility.
Because he was the lowest valley, so all the water rushed to him.
Spot.
Let's linger on that word, nullification, because that sounds really intense to modern ears. I mean, what does nullifying yourself practically look like today?
It really comes down to ego. You can't pour water into a cup that is already full.
Makes sense.
If your mind is completely filled with your own opinions and your own sense of self-importance, there is no empty space, no vessel for new wisdom to enter. Nullification isn't about degrading yourself. It's about actively setting your ego aside so that you can become a receptive container for something greater than yourself.
That completely changes the perspective. Bridging your highest ideals with your everyday, messy life requires abandoning that ego. It's not about climbing higher, it's about making yourself a vessel by getting lower. Well, we started by looking at this ancient manual of sacrifices, stepping right into the physical world to find an endearment from the divine. So I want to leave you with this. If the highest wisdom flows like water to the lowest point, where in your life is your own ego acting as a dam, blocking new knowledge from reaching you?